Yes, good morning. My name is Derek. I'm Tigeka as usual. And once again, we're here for our discussion in anatomy and physiology. And today, we will look at another type of system, that is the urinary system. Like we have always said before, anatomy is the study of body structures in relation to their functions that help the body to carry out its daily activities. Because without these organs, without these structures of the body, if there are no functionality, the body can't function very well. So our topic today is the urinary system, and from our levels of organization, we said cells come together to form organs, meaning one cell will form organs. So we shall have multiple cells which become an organ, which can be the heart, which can be the liver, which can be the brain. And when these organs are joined together structurally and morphologically, so these are supposed to be cells that are combining to form tissues. So we have tissues forming organs. So these will be our tissues here. These will be our organs, which can be the heart, like we have said, the liver, or any other organ of the body. And once organs come together, they form what we call the systems, which could be now urinary system. So basically, we are now combining cells, tissues, organs that have to come together to form a system. And that system we are seeing today is the urinary system. And this is how our structure of the urinary system looks like. So this is our structure of the urinary system. It is made up of two kidneys. So this is the left kidney and this is the right kidney. These two kidneys, they are bean shaped, like you can see here. Their shape is like a bean. So they are bean shaped structures which are supplied by blood from the aorta. So this is our from the aorta. So we all know that aorta carries oxygenated blood. So this blood comes through the aorta and enters the kidneys to supply nutrients through the renal artery on both the kidneys. Once this blood enters our kidneys here, one of the functions of the kidneys is to filter blood. is to maintain blood pressure, is to maintain electrolyte balance, and also perform in urine formation. So, as a function of filtering blood and maintaining blood pressure, the kidney, when they receive this blood from the aorta through the renal arteries, the excess fluids in them has to be excreted out, or the unwanted fluids have to be excreted out, and they are excreted out through the ureter. So those unwanted fluids excreted through the ureter pass out as urine. So urine contains all unwanted components or substances that were in the blood and were filtered out, either because they were too much in saturation or because they were not necessary for the body to use. So they are passed out through the ureters, both left and right ureters from the two kidneys, into the urinary bladder. So the urinary bladder receives this urine and temporarily stores it before it is passed out. So once urine enters the urinary bladder, it fills the urinary bladder. So here we have urinary bladder sphincters. Once they stretch, then it will be passed out through the ureter and taken out as urine. Then the blood that remains here, or the components of blood that remain here, that do not need to be excreted, are retained by the kidneys and then taken back for saturation through the renal vein. So this is our renal vein, and this is our renal vein. So the renal vein takes blood away from the kidneys back to the inferior vena cava for saturation. So this is a continuation of the aorta, and this is a continuation of the vena cava. So this is how this system functions. Blood from the heart to the aorta to the renal arteries being filtered, excess passed out as urine, collects in the urinary bladder. Once it fills out, the sphincters open here, and urine is passed out through the urethra in both the male and female organisms. So that blood remains wanted or necessary for the body. It is used by the kidney cells and then brought back to saturation via vena cava from the kidneys through the renal veins and then taken through the inferior vena cava. That is how this system functions. So we shall now try to look at the anatomical structures and their characteristics of these parts of the urinary system. So parts of the urinary system, or the organs of the urinary system, we shall begin with the kidneys. And the kidney, like we have already said, it is a bean-shaped structure or organ of the urinary system, whose one of the functions is one, filter blood. How do the kidneys filter blood? Within the kidneys, there are functional units called the nephron. This nephron contains the glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule that is semi-permeable. So it lets toxic substances that are circulating in the blood to be absorbed and filtered out of the kidneys and then be passed out. That is one function of the kidney, filtering, removing excess substances. 2 is blood pressure regulation. So blood pressure regulation is in a way that when excess blood pressure is present, it is the responsibility of the kidneys to respond in 2 ways. 1, there is activation of the RAS system, the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system, which we shall see in the next video. So the RAS activated by the release of renin helps to regulate blood pressure. That is the second function of the kidney. The third function, which I will say electrolyte balance. So the electrolytes that keep circulating in blood, such as the sodium ions, chloride ions, potassium ion, calcium ion, etc. When they are excess or when they are not needed by the body, they are filtered or passed out with urine because of their excessiveness, as we shall see the process of selective reabsorption during urine formation. Those are some of the functions of the kidneys, but there are very many others. So when we get the structure of the kidneys have 4 layers, or 4 parts that consist from outside to inside. The first is the renal capsule, or the capsule. So the capsule is a coating or a covering on the cortex of the kidney. And from the capsule, like I've already said, then we have the renal cortex. So we have the cortex here. The capsule and the cortex. Then from the cortex, we have what we call the renal medulla. This one is the renal medulla. And it is in the renal medulla where we have the nephrons. So we have nephrons. In the renal pyramids of the renal medulla. So this is how a renal pyramid looks like. So this renal pyramid, inside it has what we call the nephron. Let's make something small here. Like this. So, if this is my kidney, side is bean-shaped. Each side we have the cortex, and from the cortex we have the pyramids in the medulla. So these pyramids, we put two of them, but they fill the whole medulla. So these are the pyramids that are making the renal medulla. These renal pyramids, inside them we have the nephron. And we say the nephron is the functional unit of the what? Of the kidneys. So once blood enters through the renal artery, it enters into the renal medulla. So these renal pyramids are doing what we call the minor calyces. Then minor calyces join together to form the major calyces, which form the renal pelvis, and then urine is passed out. So we have the capsule outside, we have the cortex and the renal medulla, which consists of the renal pyramids, and in the renal pyramids we have the nephron, which function whose function is to produce urine, and it is passed through the minor calyces from each pyramid at the point we call the renal papillae to the minor calyces, then to major calyces, from the major calyces to the renal pelvis, and it is passed out through the ureters to the urinary bladder and then out for saturation. That is how the kidney functions. So if I can just draw how a renal pyramid, so a renal pyramid is like this, and in the renal pyramid we have the nephron, which it's where it's collecting left opens from there. So if this is the renal pyramid, then it will come from the minor calyx, then to other minor calyces from other pyramids, then to the renal pelvis, then it continues out through the ureter. So this is our nephron in the renal pyramid, which are millions. So we have millions of nephrons in one renal pyramid. So this renal pyramid here consists of millions of nephron whose function is urine formation. So this pointed tip of the renal papillae, the renal pyramid is called the papillae. So that is about the anatomy of the kidneys. Then when we talk about the ureters are muscular structures that consists of three layers: the mucosa, the adventitia, and the muscularis, and they stretch during propulsion of urine from the kidneys to the urinary bladder by a process called peristalsis or peristaltic wave movement. So they stretch, and then urine is passed through the urinary bladder, and they end the urinary bladder at the posterior end. So they enter the urinary bladder, and then the urinary bladder and consists of the three layers, also the mucosa, the adventitia, and the muscularis, which can also be called dorsal muscles, which stretch to trigger urinary reflexes when the bladder is filled up with urine and the lower sphincters open and urine is passed out and ejected out. So this is the anatomy and physiology, the anatomy of the urinary system. So if they ask name the organs, now name the structures that make the urinary system. We have the two kidneys, both the left and right kidney, the ureters, urinary bladder, the urethra. As our structures that make the urinary system. In our video, we shall now see the physiological bit of this system. I thank you for having followed up all these videos. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos. Thank you so much.